Salaam Alaykum. So we each have a sensitivity of different wavelengths, and becoming aware of them is why we need to become present. When you become present, you begin to feel what you're feeling honestly. You know, this part of Yahak as well, where you're going, what is the truth of this moment? What is reality? And being aware that we're kind of soft and we're going to be feeling things that aren't necessarily us because we're picking up on somebody else's vibes. Now, that means that we have to be clear about our boundary and what we want to let in and what we want to keep out.
Yeah.
To do that, you really need to, that's why we focus on the breath. This is kind of like a home. Home is where this is my breath. And you're grounded, your feet are flat on the floor, you're feeling whatever's going on is the truth of the moment. And being honest with yourself and being in that present moment allows you to make that internal assessment. Because you really can't make any good choices about what to do until you're there. You with me on this?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I'm just sort of.
And this is a process. This is one of the things we work on for our whole life, is to be able to go, well, I'm feeling kind of anxious right now because I have an appointment that I don't know how it's going to go. I don't know this person, so I'm a little anxious. That's great. That is the truth. That's reality. And then you can go, well, what can I do? Well, and then you develop a strategy of how you're going to get through something that maybe you're a little anxious about, like, I'm going to breathe, and I'm going to do Rabita, I'm going to have a dab, and I'm going to do breathing in between somebody asks me. I'm not going to respond immediately. I'm going to take a breath first and come back to that moment where I'm as present as I can be. That way, you're not a knee-jerk, working on instinct. That's the difference between an animal and a human. Yeah. Instinct is where you're an animal and you just go, whoa, you're trying to attack me, where you go, this person says something kind of out of context. Maybe they're having some trouble at home because I didn't do anything to make them feel that way. Or maybe you did, and then you have to go back and apologize. But that's being present because I overstepped my bounds there. I'm sorry. I'd like to apologize. Because all you're trying to do is keep peace, maintain peace.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the big ask, isn't it, Sheikh? Where do you start and where do you stop in finding out who you are and what your boundaries are? Yeah, it's interesting because this morning I had an occurrence where I had someone, without getting too personal, someone in my environment say something about a response to me about saying, well, something in the effect of, well, no one really cares about you. and when they said that, because this person's quite close to me, I really felt it. I thought, oh wow, I'm really hurt by that. But it was sort of interesting because I know that they didn't mean it, and this person's quite young, so it was a sort of an instinctive, off-the-cuff remark. But at that point, when she said that to me, I felt like, I could go into an old wound here, and the old wound for me is just to completely withdraw and get lost, and lose myself, and and it would have affected the time that we had together because I would have just basically sulked and been the victim. But I sort of I thought, well, hang on, here's an opportunity for me to say, you know what you just said then sort of hurt me a little bit, and I know you didn't mean it, but this is how it made me feel. And the other person sort of said, oh, okay. Oh, I didn't really mean that, and they apologised, and then we just went on and enjoyed the rest of the morning together. I think I sort of, in that sort of brief reflection afterwards, and what you're saying now is that just it's really important to be present and to know oneself, because I know that my own territory is that when I do get remarks like that in my own ways, that I can withdraw and not be present, and it's whether it's my nafs or defense system, but the ask for me is to keep being in the game as compared to going away.
Family. Yeah. What a training boot camp, It's boot camp for Sufis. having a relationship, having a family, and having somebody say exactly what hurts the most. And then how do you deal with that? So that's great. Congratulations. You saw where you could go, and you chose to go a different way. That's fantastic.
Yeah, small victory.
Yeah, you should have a little trophy for that one.
That's a good idea.
Seriously, man. You need a reward as a recognition.
Do they give out trophies for achievements, Sufi training achievements?
Oh, absolutely.
Grandmaster.
That's right. Ribbons and medals all the way through.
I observed something. I've been noticing this recently in my drives to work because, traffic and dealing with my own impatience and other people's impatience, and then trying to get to where they're going. There's potentially a lot of emotions that can get involved there. I was noticing that even if I have what I feel is a fairly muted response, in terms of I'm trying to get to work as fast as possible, just a little bit of that impatience, I was observing that it has this background effect for much longer than just that experience of the emotion. And it was something that up until maybe a couple of months ago, I'd never noticed that before. I'd always just assumed have the emotion, or this guy cut me off, and then it goes away, and that's it. And I'm recently noticing that it has this small lingering effect for potentially hours after that, that's happened. I'm learning from that, I guess.
Right. I got this image as you're talking of all these different Roberts sitting in the car with you, each with their own response to the different things. Like this one will go, will start swearing. This one will sit in a huff and pout. Another one, like in the back seat, will pound on the seat. Another will cry. Another will pound the windows. Each one has their own response. But there's an authentic one in there that breathes through it and go, it's bloody San Francisco. What do you expect? In other words, the expectations that we carry with us are such heavy weights that they affect everything that we do. The trick is to identify the expectations and go, well, that's not realistic. That's not the truth. The truth is everybody feels the same way I do and wants to get to work as fast as possible. But we have traffic. Everybody, there's an accident and then we're bumper to bumper. What do you expect? Did you expect perfection? That's not truth. Truth is stuff's going to happen. How you deal with it is your choice. So you can control your attitude. Now, we have these pre-programmed algorithms of a reaction. The trick is to identify them and go, I don't want to play that anymore. And like what Alameen was talking about is seeing the choices that we have. I could go there. I can choose the Roberts that's pounding on the seat, or I could choose this one that's yelling and swearing, or I can choose back to breathing.
Yeah. Well, I think that ties into this perfectly, because that was, along the lines of the observation that I had. Is like, I don't know, it's gotten to the point where frequently I'm not, like, if somebody cuts me off, I don't care. But sometimes it's almost like it feels like an indulgence, like, I'm gonna like nurse this annoyance for a period of time, and there's no consequence. And I think that was the thing, that last bit of it seeming like there's no consequence was the kind of the revelation, which is not true. And even though I can't really fully perceive it at the time, it actually does have a lingering effect. I guess I didn't have anything to add to that. No.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty much what I wanted to talk about today, is being able to identify being able to do internal assessments and being able to clarify what is the truth in this moment. Sometimes it's really difficult to move those nefs aside and go, well, what's really happening? And an added question is it me or is it somebody else? Or am I picking something else up? Because we are sensitive to this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to read from, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, it reminded me of something else, which last couple of Ramadans, after Ramadan, about a month after, I've had this sensation, which is hard to articulate, but it was like the way you feel like when you're like a little bit tipsy. And I felt that way before I went to London a couple of years back. And this time around, I felt it too. And I remember telling you about it on our one-on-one session, some of the other things that were going on. But I guess the question is, when we do Ramadans, and like maybe it's something with a night of power or something like that, is there like a cyclical energy or something like that like we get out of that? I'm not able to articulate it very well, but
no, yeah. And sensitivity, again, the sensitivity, first of all, imagine there's maybe 2 to 3 billion people doing the same thing around the world. How can you not pick that up? It's Ramadan, maybe a quarter or a third of the world is involved in prayer and in being connected. How can you not be feeling that? And then afterwards, there's been a clarifying for a lot of people, as for yourself. Of course, there's going to be reactions or kind of waves of realizations after that. So being aware that, again, there's being present in this idea of internal assessment is being able to be aware of any kind of external influences as well, positive or negative. And again, what is the truth of this moment? What is this moment of reality? Does that help? Does that help answer that?
I mean, I think it doesn't specifically answer that. But I think that's like generally,
Okay, so
I mean, what we've been talking about, so like, it maybe helps answer like life in general.
okay, so ask your question clearly.
It would start about a month after Ramadan, and it would last for maybe 2 weeks, maybe a month, somewhere around there. And it would feel like this, like almost like this elation. I couldn't tie it to anything, and it was like at some point it was like so intense I felt like kind of tipsy. So that's the sensation, and the question was energy or emotional sensitivity. Like, does that, we're putting something into the world during Ramadan, and this is sort of this, carried over into, later on, like you were talking about, billions of people in the world are participating in this. And is this picking up on something like that, like the effort that people put in?
Mm-hmm. So what's the question?
Do we as humans have the ability to pick up on, as an energy, other people's collective effort?
Good question. Alameen, what's the answer?
Yes.
Good, thank you.
Okay. Simple as that.
Anything you want to add, Mui?
42.
Thank you. Well said. We're all connected, Robert. There is no real barrier between us. We're all part of an awareness, a consciousness of as Allah or as the universe, however you want to think of it. We're all connected. If we had the ability to live for several hundred years, we would see things metamorph from a tree that gets cut down, that morphs into a chair, that turns into dust, that becomes soil, that becomes a plant that's eaten by you, and you see that the old tree that you used to watch has become part of you, and then you die, and then you become part of something else. This ongoing transformation and metamorphosis of stuff is all the same thing. To imagine that there's different stuff is a kind of fiction. That's not true. All matter is just changing from one energy to another energy. It's all fluid. Awareness is, or a law, doesn't change. It is stable. So picking up on other things from other people is kind of like, well, yeah, of course, we're all connected, and we're connected in so many different ways. Our senses are only set up for certain amounts of frequencies, but our body and antenna in it and the heart is able to perceive a whole lot more. Now, if you think about science, we have to make tools that allow us to see different spectra. That big telescope out there in the space is looking at the stars through infrared. We don't have that ability to see that, but that antenna does, and then that's interpreted back into our frequencies that we can perceive. All right, I done talk. Yes, Mui.
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, like similar to what you were saying, but even if you take the spiritual side out of it, we're connected even physically, emotionally, economically. Like there's no escaping being connected to the rest of the universe, pretty much. So if a lot of people are doing something, it's going to affect you one way or another.
Yes.
Good or bad.
That's right.
That's all.
Okay. Robert, does that make sense?
Makes sense to me.
Okay. So, yes, Ramadan has both on a human level, you have all these people focusing on being with Allah. Now, there's also the Maqams that we are able to sometimes pop into for a little while. There's 7 Maqams, kind of a layer cake. No, it's, and generally we're in this area of perception. We see things from this point of view. Sometimes, though, we can be taken up into the next Maqam and go, oh my God, look at that. This is and then you come back. What was that? That's called a hal, H-A-L. A hal is a temporary transportation into another level where you see where you can go, and the next level of the Maqam that you're talking about is level 4, and that Maqam has a kind of, it's called mystical intoxication, which is something to experience, which you have, and it's something to notice, but you just don't attach anything to it. It's kind of like, oh, that's an experience. Yeah? Yeah? Okay. Before I go on, is there any questions that you want me to address?
I just have a question on what you just said, Shay. So that's all right. How do you tell the difference between a hal and a more sustainable change of state?
The hal is temporary.
Okay, so if it goes away, you know it was a hal.
That's right. That's
Okay.
right. 'Cause it's kind of like, whoa, this is a whole new way of looking at things. I didn't ever think that I could see like this. This is really cool. And then it goes away.
I see.
And the feeling is, wait a minute, I wanted that. That was good. Well, my experience of that is it's kind of a motivation to get back to work. And in crossing through Maqams, they're not concrete strata. They're flexible and mobile, and you pass through them, and sometimes you move through one and then back to another, and it's none of your business anyway. Well, your job is to be present. And like what we're talking about too is like trying to keep a journal and articulate what you are perceiving and what you notice. It helps your brain to compile that information and process it so that you get some data that's kind of holographic. It's kind of dimensional. First, I want to read a poem from Hafez called I Saw Two Birds. Both of our mouths can fit upon this flute I carry. My music will sound so much sweeter that way, with your breath and my breath poking each other in the ribs and kissing. I saw two birds on a limb this morning, laughing with the sun. They reminded me of how we will one day exist. My dear, keep thinking about Allah. Keep thinking about the beloved, and soon our nest will be the whole firmament. Forget about all your desires for truth. We've gone far beyond that. For now, it is just pure need. Both our hearts are meant to sing. Both our souls are destined to touch and kiss upon this holy flute Allah carries. I want to read also from Secret of Secrets, the chapter on the veils of light and darkness. Allah says, whoever is blind in this world, he will be blind in the hereafter. It is not the blindness of the eyes in one's head, but the blindness of the eyes of one's heart that will prevent one from seeing the light of the hereafter. As Allah says, for surely it is not their eyes that are blind, but their hearts, which are in their breasts. The only cause of the heart becoming blind is heedlessness, which makes one forget Allah and one's function, one's purpose, one's promise to Him while one is in this world. The principal cause of heedlessness is ignorance of the reality of laws and orders. What keeps one in this stage of ignorance is a darkness that completely covers one from the outside and fully invades one's inner being. Some of the properties of this darkness are arrogance, pride, envy, miserliness, vengeance, lying, gossiping, backbiting, and so many other hateful traits. It is these traits that reduce the best creation of Allah to the lowest of the low. To rid oneself of these evils, one has to cleanse and shine the mirror of the heart. This cleansing is done by acquiring knowledge, by acting upon this knowledge, by effort and valor, fighting against one's ego within and without oneself, by ridding oneself of one's multiplicity of being, by achieving unity. This struggle will continue until the heart becomes alive with the light of unity. And with that light of unity, the eye of the clean heart will see the reality of Allah's attributes around it and in it. Only then will you remember the true home from which you come. Then you will have the yearning and longing to return to the true home, and when the time comes, with the help of the most compassionate, that spirit which is pure in you will go to join Him.
The multiplicity is outside, the unity is inside.
It is both.
The unity is both outside and inside, and the multiplicity is both outside and inside.
Yes. Depending which level we're talking about this at. As regards unity, for us right now, that is what we want to create within us. We have many characters. Learning how to train them so that there's just one of you. And if you want to allow one of the characters to come forward, you make the choice so that they're not controlling you. You're the ringmaster. Yeah. Okay, let's bring in the authority, the professor. Professor, please come in. Yes, I'd like to state the absolute facts here. This is the truth, and these are the facts. There is only this and that, and so thank you, Professor. Anybody else?
Yeah, I want to play.
All right, bring in the idiot. So to me, in my experience, I have a whole cast. I can call on them anytime. They're happy to come forward. Every once in a while, one of them will want to take over. And I have to go, no. And then there's the one screaming in the back. And I have to take some time and go, calm her down and go, take it easy. It's going to be okay. We're all right. But what about me? I really need to be in charge here. I know exactly what this is. Why don't you listen to me? Thank you for your clarity. That was very articulate. I'll let you know when we need you. So somebody's got to be the adult in the room and make the mature choices. Otherwise, it's chaos. So that's the multiplicity within. Outside, there is all of these vibes coming at us because nobody that I know of is aware of their energy. So if I'm feeling frustrated and anxious and very upset and kind of have these expectations that I really need to be on top of things and it's not happening and I got to get this done right away, and why isn't anything all set up? I'm putting out that kind of energy. I'm not aware that it leaks. And so you walk by and it's kind of like a smell. You absorb that energy and then you become anxious. So that's an outer multiplicity. That's why learning how to be present, being aware of our breath, allows us to become aware of ourselves and know what is this and what is not this. So that when you feel something that's not you, you go, that is from outside, that is not me, and it's not my fault. I'm not responsible for that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that is the reality at one level. At another perception level, it is one thing. It's life. What do you expect? Of course we're going to be affected. Everybody is concerned about themselves and everybody's on the way to Allah. So this is the reality and I don't have to buy it. Hard to stay at that level because we are human and we have our own needs and desires. Okay, Mr. Therapist, you have question?
Yeah, no, I'm just reflecting, Sheikh. It's that constant checking in and being present. There is a question there, but I'm trying to just when you talked about people's stuff and how they leak, and you might be walking past, and how do you not get affected? I
didn't say you don't get affected. No. You will get affected.
Yeah, it's natural to get. Sorry, yeah, my natural to get affected. So if one is aware that you're going past a smelly place and it's going to smell, but you're still going to experience, the leakage. Yeah, I suppose it's just, maybe I'm answering my question. Is it just as simple as being with your heart, going back to the breath, as to try and combat that? Because, yeah, I'm sort of noticing that a little bit more, especially in my environment with certain friends or families, how like I'm going into an environment where I am going to be affected, and I'm fully aware that it's not my stuff, but yet I can notice my heart rate accelerating, thoughts of needing or having to do something while I don't have to do anything. So I think just wanting to confirm, it's just a matter of being, just with being with your heart, being with your breath, and anything else.
Yeah, well, when you step in dog poop, you have to clean your shoes off.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you smell bad too.
Yeah. Yeah. Got ya.
My 2.5-year-old's been teaching me this one recently. If you hold on to the poo, it's harder to get rid of it.
Huh. It gets hard,
If you
doesn't
don't do it all, if you don't let it out every day, it builds up.
That's right.
And there's always poo. You can't avoid a life you can't have a life without poo. We all have it.
Yeah. It's just you have the choice to clean it off.
Spiritual toilet training.
Ooh.
And as far as cleaning it off, this would go back to like what you're talking about, like hands on the wall,
Yeah.
feet on the ground, focusing on your breath.
That's right. Yeah. It kind of depends on the intensity. Sometimes face washing is great. Some water over the face, that really works. Sometimes you have to do a little bit more through the hair because it got caught in the hair. You get rid of that. But, this is also part of being self-aware and part of the internal assessment. Sometimes this stuff may land in a certain part of your body, in which case you have to clean that. I don't know. It can be very different. When you're with another person who's spiky, who's it's kind of like, ooh, okay. Now, if you can access a shield of some kind, you go red alert, shields up, and for a little while you can maintain a shield, and that's great, but that takes energy. You just have to know. Usually, my experience is it happens after I find out that this is one of those moments, in which case I'm a little late putting up protection, which means I got some poo on me.
Especially if it's someone you haven't met before, or like a place you haven't been before. Sometimes you can get surprised.
Exactly.
But if it's someone you know, sometimes you can sort of go in armed.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Now, family is probably where it's the most difficult.
Yeah, I was going to say it's hard to be a Sufi in a Wog family. It really is. It's just different ways of being.
Good luck with that.
Sorry, I interrupted.
Yeah, no, that's fine. It's the image I got when you said that was be a submarine, dive, and be contained. You got portholes, you have communication, and you have periscope, but you're all contained. If that makes any sense, that's the image I got. whatever works for you, you know?
Jake, I wanted to ask something about you saying before about being sensitive, and as you go on, travel on the path. Sometimes I'm try and stay with my heart and saying, what's needed here, but I go back into the default of, just being supportive and alleviate that hurt that they're going through. But how do you get that balance of standing back and letting that person be in what they need to be, and then but also being supportive. Yeah, try and lighten their load. Is it a matter of just checking in with your heart and seeing what your heart's saying?
Yeah, that's probably the best way. But I'm interested to hear what the teacher has to say.
The teacher.
Louis, our
teacher of little people. Right. The one least qualified to teach happens to be in a teaching position. That one. Yes. Okay. Since I've been asked, the thing that I find helpful with that, because I have a similar tendency, this one likes to be the rescuing hero and jump in and fix everything, and often that makes things worse. So I say now, it's Sheikh doing this, not me. Mm-hmm. Get out of the way. Don't be there, because me is going to screw it up. Me wants to be a heroic salvation figure, and that's all shirk. And the truth is that Allah does what Allah does if you don't get in the way. So if the person is supposed to be helped through this one, it will happen. And if the person is not supposed to be helped through this one, it will not happen. And the only thing that can screw that up is me going, should I help this person? I want to help this person. They need my help because I'm a helper. Not that I actually am able to successfully, execute that way of being most of the time, but that's what I've noticed. When it works is when I'm able to do that. When it doesn't work is when I get in the way. Mm-hmm. It's not just me helping when it's Allah helping. That's the thing. You're part of a network. Mm-hmm. Somebody comes into the room and goes, I'm getting out of the way. I'm not here. Somebody else comes into the room who you would normally as a teacher say, you're not allowed in here, but then they have the solution to the problem that the kid is facing in front of you. Because you're out of the way, you didn't stop that from coming through. Because it wasn't coming from you. It was just you weren't getting in the way of it coming through. So you play whatever role you need to play in the moment. Mm-hmm. Ideally.
Exactly. Yes, that is the solution. And that's why working on the breath brings you back to the present moment, so that and that's why we practice it, because it's in those moments of crisis and catastrophe that we get thrown off. Because if we're out of practice, we go into instinct. Whereas making an intelligent, mature choice of going, I need to be with my breath now. And make your internal assessment and go, what is the truth of this moment? What needs to happen here? This person's talking to me and they're in a kind of disturbed state. What do? I get out of the way. First, I listen with my heart. I listen to not the words, but what I listen with my heart, not the words, the state of the person and their heart. You can only hear with your heart. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yes.
Good. Because that's hard to say. Don't trust people's words. They're not what they're saying. And as a therapist, you know all that. So if you just follow the words, you'll end up nowhere. it's a maze that just kind of goes back on itself because it's all about love me. That's what all of that is about. Love me. I am worth. I am valuable. I have value. I have worth. I have meaning. I have purpose. We all want that, but we create all of these mazes and conflicts to make that difficult for some reason. Well, okay. The reason is because we listen to what I call the limiter. It's a concept I'm working on. Instead of shaitan or nafs or the devil, I think of it as like the one who wants to make you small. Because that is untrue. You are the universe. You're part of all of this. And to put you down into God, I am not worthy. I am a victim. I am small. I can only do this. And I feel, because you fill in the blanks, and now you're limited. Because that's safe. Because now I know what I am. I'm a plumber. I'm a husband. I'm a man. I'm a woman. I'm not worthy. I will always be a failure. Whatever, you can just fill that in. All of those different things. It's a lie. That's the liar, the limiter.
Sheikh, what about people who don't know their limits and run into trouble that way?
Okay.
So I've seen the opposite as well.
Absolutely. So have I.
I don't know.
Okay. I open that up to everybody. How would you answer that?
I think it actually maybe it comes from a place of feeling limited. There are people who inherently feel limited, but they want to prove that they're not. So they kind of go over and above and outside and beyond what the natural, physical and social and financial limits are to prove a point.
Yeah, this is the overcompensation.
That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, that is my diagnosis.
So how do you know when you're self-limiting and when you're appropriately limiting?
Again, back
You know
to
what I mean?
back to internal assessment. What is the truth? And if you need to, then you go into Yahak, thinking about what is the truth of this. Can I please Allah show me the reality?
You mean there's not an easy, simple answer? And it depends on the context and the time and the place of the person?
Did I? Oh, I
That's
don't know.
annoying.
Did I say that? Oh, no. Simple answer.
Give me black and white, all right?
Yeah, it's on page 3. You got the manual? Shaykhibrahim rajim. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen Rahmanir-Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alayhim ghayril maghdubi 'alayhim waladdallin. Ameen.
Thanks, Shay.
Thank
See you
you.
later.
Thanks, everyone.
Salaam Alaykum. Salaam
Alaykum.
Salaam Alaykum, murids, seekers, curious, and interested listeners. We appreciate you and are happy to share our Sufi message. Your donation will help support our Sufi Center in Sydney, where we do zikr, sohbet, spiritual counseling, and healing services. We believe the message should be free, but it costs equipment, rental, services, software, and hardware to get this to you. So thank you for choosing our podcast among all the millions available. If you go to our website, AnsariSufiOrder.org, you will be able to donate through PayPal whatever you think this information is worth to you. Blessings and love, the Australian Ansari Sufi Order.